there, it's Mrs. Ferris from Wood Library, and I'm getting ready for Storytime Online. But I have a question for you. Are you hungry? Did you bring your lunch to eat while we're having our stories? No? Oh, guess what? Neither did I. But I did pick some stories that are going to be delicious. Our first one is called Who's Been Eating My Porridge? It's written by Christina Butler and illustrated by Daniel Howarth. Looks like 3 bears. This book is published by Tiger Tales. Little Bear never ate his porridge. All little bears eat porridge, said Mommy Bear. It makes them big and strong. But Little Bear shook his head. No porridge, he said. No porridge. Well, then I'll give it to Old Scary Bear, who lives in the woods, said Mommy Bear. And Little Bear watched as Mommy Bear took the porridge outside and left it on an old tree stump. Now that day, while Mommy and Daddy Bear gathered honey from the bees, Little Bear climbed the trees and watched out for Old Scary Bear. On the way home, Daddy Bear said, "Did you see Old Scary Bear?" "No," replied Little Bear with his nose in the air, "because there is no Old Scary Bear." "Well, somebody has eaten your porridge," said Mommy Bear when they got back to the house. The next morning, Daddy Bear put some honey on Little Bear's porridge, but Little Bear still wouldn't eat it. "I don't like porridge. It's horrible," he cried. So Daddy Bear took it outside and left it on the tree stump for Old Scary Bear. That day, Grandma and Grandpa Bear came to stay, and they all went out to pick berries. "I hear you don't eat your porridge, Little Bear," said Grandpa Bear as they walked home. "It's no wonder Old Scary Bear has been around. Old Scary Bear loves porridge." And when they arrived back at the bear den, Little Bear ran over to the tree stump and found that his porridge bowl was empty again. The next morning, Grandma Bear put some honey and berries on Little Bear's porridge. But Little Bear held his nose and closed his eyes. "No porridge," he cried. "I hate porridge." And so Grandpa Bear took the porridge outside for Old Scary Bear. That day, Little Bear's aunt and uncle and his 2 cousins came for a visit. And while the grown-up bears gathered nuts in the woods, Little Bear and his cousins played Old Scary Bear games among the trees. On the way home, Little Bear was very quiet and wouldn't speak to anyone. "I bet he's tired," said Daddy Bear. At dinner time, Little Bear wasn't feeling hungry. Daddy Bear took him upstairs and tucked him in bed. That night, Little Bear had a bad dream. Old Scary Bear was chasing him through the woods. "I want your porridge," he growled. "It makes me big and strong." Little Bear ran and ran with his porridge over fields where the berries grew, through the woods where the nuts grow, and past the hives where the bees make honey, until he came to the old tree stump. "You're not getting my porridge," he shouted to Old Scary Bear, and he sat down and ate all the porridge, every bit. And then he woke up. And the next morning at breakfast, Little Bear ate a bowl of porridge with honey. And then he had a second helping with nuts and berries. All day long, Little Bear was very busy. He helped Grandma Bear and Mommy Bear make berries into jam and put honey into jars. And then he went to help Grandpa Bear and Daddy Bear. They were storing the nuts. Daddy Bear said suddenly, "What's that noise?" And all the bears listened carefully, and then they looked outside. And there, in front of the bear den, were lots of little animals all shouting, "Where's our porridge? Where's our porridge? So that's who Old Scary Bear is, cried Little Bear with a giggle. And from that day to this one, every morning when Little Bear finishes eating his porridge, he takes another bowl of porridge outside for Old Scary Bear. And you know, it always gets eaten. That was a surprise for him, wasn't it, to see who Old Scary Bear really was? Well, shall we do our finger play about being a mountain that bear crawls over? Can you put your hand right on your shoulder and he's going to be an old bear and he's going to climb over the mountain. Here we go. The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain to see what he could see, to see what he could see, to see what he could see. And what did he see? The other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain was all that he could see. Well, our next story is going to be different than the story about Little Bear who didn't want to eat his porridge, because this is a story about a cow who wants to eat a lot. This is called Too Many Pears. It's written by Jackie French with illustrations by Bruce Watley. And it is published by Starbright Books. Pamela liked pears. Pamela liked fresh pears. She liked pears even more than Amy did. Pamela liked pears for lunch. Pamela liked pears on picnics. Pamela liked stewed pears with ice cream too. Pamela liked pear pie and whipped cream. Pamela liked picking pears, and so did Amy and Grandma. "We have to save our pears," cried Amy. "Pears are my favorite." So Amy picked lots of pears, but Pamela picked more. Grandpa built a fence around the pear tree, but Pamela crawled through a wombat hole under the fence. Grandpa tied Pamela up, but Pamela took the tree pear picking too. "We'll never get any pears," everyone moaned. "I know what to do," declared Amy. Amy set the table for Pamela, and there were brown pears and green pears. There were yellow pears and red pears. There were pears in chocolate sauce. There were baked pears and pear cream cake and a dish of pears as high as the roof. Pamela smiled. Pamela ate one pear. And then she ate another pear, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another. Pamela ate 600 pears. And then she stopped. Pamela wasn't smiling anymore. The next day, Grandpa opened the gate for Pamela. "Look at all the lovely pears, Pamela," Grandpa said. Pamela wasn't interested. Pamela was gazing at the apples. Do you think she's going to eat those? I do. Can you make a fist with your finger and pretend it's an apple up in a tree? A little red apple, stretch your arm up, hung high in the apple tree. I looked up at it, and it looked down at me. Come down, I called. And what do you suppose? Why, that little red apple hit me right on the nose. Should we do that again? Because I think that's a new one for us. Stretch your arm up. A little red apple hung high on the apple tree. I looked up at it, and it looked down at me. Come down, I called. And what do you suppose? That little red apple hit me right on the nose. Well, some people are very silly eaters, and there's 7 of them in this book, written by Mary Ann Hoberman and illustrated by Marla Frazee. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this book is published by Harcourt, Incorporated. Not so long ago, they say, a mother lived just like today. Mrs. Peters was her name. Her little boy was named the same. Now, Peter was a perfect son in every way, except for one. When Peter was just 1 year old, he did not like his milk served cold. He did not like his milk served hot. He liked it warm, and he would not drink it if he was not sure of its proper temperature. But Mrs. Peters didn't mind. She was a mother sweet and kind, and when his milk spilled on the floor, she patiently prepared some more. She'd take the bottle from the shelf and chuckle softly to herself, "What a silly sort of eater is my darling baby Peter." Now, when Peter had not yet turned 2, another baby, sweet and new, was born. Dear Lucy, small and fair, with big blue eyes and curly hair. But long before this child was grown, she had an opinion of her own, of what she'd eat and what she'd not. She hated milk, both cold and hot, and warm was worst of all. Instead, whenever dear Lucy dear was fed, she bellowed for pink lemonade, not from a can, but homemade. But Mrs. Peters didn't mind. She squeezed each lemon to its rind, while mopping milk up from the floor and patiently preparing more. She'd take the lemons from the shelf and giggle softly to herself. What a silly pair of eaters are Lucy Dare and Peter Peters. Now Lucy grew and Peter grew till he was 3 and she was 2. And who was 1? Why, little Jack, with eyes so brown and hair so black. A happy baby, never cross, but all he'd eat was applesauce. Peeling apples by the pound, Mrs. Peters faintly frowned. She'd take the apples from the shelf and murmur weakly to herself, "What a silly bunch of eaters are Lucy Jack and Peter Peters." Now Peter, Lucy, and young Jack had another brother, Mac. Mac was charming, round and plump, but if his oatmeal had a lump, Mac would dump it on the cat. Mrs. Peters hated that. But since she loved her children 4, she'd strain the oatmeal 2 times more. She'd take it from the pantry shelf and mumble sadly to herself, "What a foolish group of eaters are all my precious little Peters." Now, before another year was through, who came along? Why, Mary Lou. She was a darling, sweet and bright, and had a healthy appetite. That is, as long as she was fed soft and squishy homemade bread. Poor Mrs. Peters got no rest, but still she did her very best. She'd take the flour from the shelf and mutter feebly to herself, "What a fussy bunch of eaters are all my lovely little Peters." Well, a year rolled by and the children grew. "They really are a splendid crew," sighed Mrs. Peters, pinning pins and diapering her brand new twins. Little sisters, quick and smart, impossible to tell apart, but flow like poached eggs and fran like fried, and if she mixed them up, they cried. Tired to the very bone, Mrs. Peters gave a groan. She'd take the eggs down from the shelf and whisper weakly to herself, "What persnickety young eaters are all my 7 little Peters." Now time went by, as time will do, and as it passed the children grew. The problem was that as they grew, their appetites kept growing too, but not their choice of what to eat. Each child continued to repeat. They wanted what they'd had before. The trouble was, they wanted more. Creamy oatmeal, pots of it, homemade bread and lots of it, peeling apples by the peck. Mrs. Peters was a wreck. She wiped her brow and heaved a sigh. Another year was passing by. In fact, she realized with sorrow, her birthday would arrive tomorrow. Drearily she shook her head and wearily went up to bed. She thought the children had forgot her special day, but they had not. At the crack of dawn, they all began to carry out their secret plan. A birthday breakfast in her bed, a breakfast made of all the foods that kept them in such happy moods. So while their weary mother slept, down the stairs the children crept, and from the cupboards and the shelves happily they helped themselves. Cheerfully they chopped and stirred, preparing what they each preferred. But despite the pains they took, since nobody knew how to cook, to measure things or make them hot, the more they tried, the worse they got. First, Mac's oatmeal turned out lumpy, which made poor Mac turn grim and grumpy. In fact, the lumps got him so cross he dumped them in Jack's applesauce, and that bothered Jack so much he threw it in the dough of Mary Lou, who tossed the mishmash that made straight into Lucy's lemonade. And that put her in such a huff, she poured the icky, sticky stuff onto the double frying pan that held the eggs of Flo and Fran, who flung the hodgepodge at the spot into the milk in Peter's pot. Oh, look at the mess. But when they saw what they had done, they wished they had never begun. They'd hardly slept a wink that night, and still things hadn't turned out right. And even though they tried their best, it hadn't worked. They were depressed. They'd be in trouble too unless they found some place to hide the mess. The oven seemed the perfect spot. They all forgot that it was hot. They stuck the pot inside and then they all went back to bed again. The clock struck 6, but on they slept. Meanwhile, their mother softly stepped down to the kitchen, smelled a smell. What could it be? She couldn't tell. It smelled so good, she sniffed some more and opened up the oven door. She woke the children with her cries, and they all came running in surprise. In the kitchen, what they found was Mrs. Peter dancing around, and in the oven, no mistake, a pink and plump and perfect cake. And as their mother danced with glee, she cried, "A birthday cake for me? A birthday cake still piping hot? And to think I thought that you forgot. Now tell me, please, how did you make this pink and plump and perfect cake? So high and light and smooth as silk?" "Why, it's smooth as silk from all my milk," said Peter. And Lucy said, "It's pink from all my lemonade, I think." "And from my apples," added Jack. "My oatmeal made it soft," said Mac. "My bread dough too," said Mary Lou. And said Flo and Fran, "As for its size, it was our eggs that made it rise." And everybody sniffed some more and danced around on the kitchen floor. They put the cake upon a dish and lit the candles. "Make a wish." The children cried, "Before you blow." And Mrs. Peters did just so. And what is more, her wish came true, as birthday wishes always do. And from that day to this, 'tis said, the Peters family all is fed a single simple meal, just one, a meal that's good for everyone, a meal on which they all agree, made from their secret recipe. They all take turns in mixing it. They all take turns in fixing it. It's thick to beat and quick to bake. It's fine to eat and fun to make. What was it? Why, it was Mrs. Peters' birthday cake. Well, let's do a finger play about something that I bet you eat. Can you get your hot dogs ready? I've got my 5 little hot dogs that are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. So 4 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. 3 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. 2 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. 1 little hot dog is cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and the one went bam. No little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and the pan went bam. I think we've got time for one more story about lunch. In fact, that's the title of this book by Denise Fleming. She wrote it and she also did the pictures. And, oh, look at that little mouse sniffing. This book is published by Henry Holt and Company. He's sniffing again. Mouse was very hungry. He was so hungry, he ate a crisp white turnip, tasty orange, can you guess? Carrots, sweet yellow corn, tender green peas, tart blue berries, sour purple grapes, shiny red apples, and juicy pink watermelon. Crunchy black seeds and all. And then he took a nap until dinner time. Well, can you wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes? Can you wiggle your shoulders? And how about your nose? Can you wiggle your elbows and slap your knees and stretch those arms? And get ready, please, not for the flannel board. We have a special guest joining us today. And I understand she's very hungry. This is my friend, the old lady. She hasn't been here in a long time. Are you hungry? Yes, I am. All right. And are you going to eat what I think you're going to eat? Mm-hmm. Well, I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a bird. Now how absurd to swallow a bird. I'm not sure where those are gone. Did you swallow? There we go. And where's your bird? Did your bird get stuck? Oh, there it is. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a cat. Let's get her ear up there. Imagine that. She swallowed a cat. She swallowed the cat to catch the bird. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a dog. Oh, what a hog to swallow a dog. I think she's got a frog in her throat because everything seems to be getting stuck. She swallowed the dog to catch the cat. She swallowed the cat to catch the bird. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a goat, threw open her throat, and swallowed that goat. Oh, goodness. She swallowed the goat to catch the dog. She swallowed the dog to catch the cat. She swallowed the cat to catch the bird. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a cow. I don't know how she swallowed that cow. She swallowed the cow to catch the goat. She swallowed the goat to catch the dog. She swallowed the dog to catch the cat. She swallowed the cat to catch the bird. She swallowed the bird to catch the spider that wiggled and jiggled and tickled inside me. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. I know an old lady who swallowed a horse. And I'm sad to say, she died, of course. So don't overeat tonight when you have dinner. Just eat the good stuff, the stuff that's good for you, and you'll be just fine. Well, thank you for joining me for some stories about eating. And we'll see you another time here at Storytime Online. Bye-bye.